My name is Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin. You might know me as a tyrant, a dictator, a murderer. But in my youth, they called me So-So. A boy with dreams far larger than the mountains of Georgia. I was born in Gori, in December 1878. To a poor cobbler and a mother who prayed for me to become a priest. She imagined me in robes, holding a Bible. Instead, I chose a red flag. People say I was born cruel. No, cruelty is learned, like faith or mathematics. And I had excellent teachers, poverty, humiliation, and ambition. At the seminary, I learned about God, and how to doubt Him. When you read enough forbidden books, you stop believing in heaven, and start wondering who built the prison around you. Lenin's words reached me in those years. He wrote that the world could be remade, that the poor could inherit not the earth, but the factories, the fields, the power. I didn't just read those words, I inhaled them. And I never exhaled again. I was expelled from the seminary for spreading Marxism. They said I was corrupting minds. They were right. I became a revolutionary. Printing pamphlets, robbing banks for the party. Hiding in basements, running from police. Romantic, yes. But mostly cold and hungry. They arrested me. Exiled me. I escaped. They arrested me again. It became a kind of routine. Like a very unpleasant commute. When I met Lenin, I wasn't impressed by his size. He was shorter than I expected. But his mind? It could cut glass. He didn't shout, he believed. And belief, I learned, is far more dangerous than bullets. When the revolution came in 1917, I wasn't in Petrograd storming the palace. I was behind a desk, organizing. That's what I did best. Make lists, manage people, decide who gets what. And, later, who gets to live. They say revolutions devour their children. That's not true. They devour their rivals. And I learned to feed the revolution very well. After Lenin's stroke, I saw what was coming. Chaos, division, opportunity. I visited him often, took notes, carried his messages. When he died, I carried something else, his authority. The others underestimated me. Trotsky was eloquent, brilliant, arrogant. I was quiet, patient, and everywhere. By 1929, I had removed them all. Trotsky exiled, others executed or forgotten. The revolution was mine now. The party was mine. The country, mine. They called me Vozd, the leader. I preferred comrade. It sounded friendlier. I promised the people a paradise of workers. I gave them factories and famine. We built at impossible speed. Steel, railways, dams. The newspapers showed tractors plowing golden fields. The fields, of course, were empty. The peasants resisted collectivization. They called it theft. I called it progress. When they refused, I sent soldiers. When they hid grain, I took their children. History calls it the Holodomor. I called it a lesson in discipline. Yes, millions died. But I believed, truly, that history demanded sacrifice. And what is one man's life? Compared to the glory of an industrialized utopia? I slept well. I always did. Fear became my favorite instrument. I tuned it carefully, like a violin. A glance, a whisper, a rumor. and entire cities froze. People denounced their neighbors. Wives betrayed husbands. Sons informed on fathers. And I didn't even need to ask. In 1937, I cleaned the party. We called it purification. Interrogations, confessions, bullets at night. Names crossed off lists until the lists were clean again. Purity through absence. I remember signing execution orders. The way others signed birthday cards. At first, I hesitated. Then I got used to it. Habit, like smoking. Foreigners called it terror. I called it order. Fear kept the machine running. Fear kept me safe. They say I ruled by paranoia. But paranoia is just realism. When everyone really is plotting against you. Then came 1941. Hitler invaded. Yes, that man. The failed artist turned warlord. He thought he could take my empire in a few months. He was wrong. At first, I didn't believe the reports. I thought it was a provocation. A trick by my own generals. When the bombs fell on Minsk, I sat in silence for days. Even monsters need time to process betrayal. But when I returned as the Iron Father of the motherland. I rallied the nation. Not with love, but with fear. And fear, I must say, is a very effective motivator. We fought house to house. Village to village. Moscow, Leningrad, Stalingrad. I turned them into symbols. Every brick soaked in blood. Every victory measured in corpses. Hitler had his blitzkrieg. I had patience. Winter did the rest. When the Red Army entered Berlin in 1945, the world called me a hero. The savior of Europe. It amused me. I had simply outlasted another tyrant. At Yalta, I met Churchill and Roosevelt. They smiled, I smiled back. They toasted democracy. And I toasted vodka. They thought we were allies. We were only neighbors. And neighbors, as you know, can share a fence and still hate each other. After the war, I built the Iron Curtain. Half of Europe became my buffer zone. Peace through control. Freedom through obedience. Contradictions, my favorite architecture. Inside the USSR, I rebuilt everything. Cities, factories, myths. We called it reconstruction. What it really was. Another revolution, only colder. The scientists built bombs. The artists painted happy workers. And the people learned to applaud on cue. We didn't need gods anymore. We had parades. I trusted no one. Every friend became a suspect. Even my doctors. Especially my doctors. They whispered about plots. And I listened. When you spend decades digging graves for others, you eventually start hearing your own name in the dirt. My children feared me. My comrades flattered me. No one told me the truth anymore. But I liked it that way. Truth is uncomfortable company. Sometimes, late at night, I looked out from the Kremlin window, across the frozen river, and wondered, was this what Lenin dreamed of? Did he imagine millions kneeling under banners with my face? I think not. But then again, he chose me. In 1953, my body finally betrayed me. A stroke, they said. I fell on the floor, gasping. Unable to speak. My guards waited hours before entering. They were too afraid to disturb me. Even death needed permission. They found me on the carpet, staring at the ceiling I had built for myself. The last thing I remember was the sound of dripping water. Like time itself. Slow, cold, relentless. When I died, the people wept. Millions cried for the man who had crushed them. It's remarkable what fear can do. Even after you're gone. They embalmed me next to Lenin. Two gods of a faith that devoured its believers. Later, they moved me out. Too many ghosts in one room, they said. They denounced me. Tore down statues. Rewrote history. But history is a poor editor. It always leaves fingerprints. You still feel me, don't you? In every government that spies on its citizens. In every flag that promises equality and delivers obedience. In every leader who says, I know what's best for you. They say I had a heart of steel. But steel rusts. And so did I. Power didn't corrupt me. It completed me. I became exactly what I always wanted to be. The man who could not be questioned. The priest of a godless church. The guardian of a paradise built on bones. If you ask me whether it was worth it, I would say yes and no. Yes, because I turned a peasant empire into a superpower. No, because I turned men into shadows. To do it. But history doesn't care about how. Only who. And for 30 years. The answer was me. When people speak of me now, they use numbers. Millions dead, billions oppressed. Statistics are comforting. They make tragedy feel scientific. You can't feel pain in percentages. But somewhere, in some forgotten village, a woman still curses my name under her breath. That is immortality. I am Joseph Stalin, the steel heart of revolution, the student who traded God for ideology, and ended up becoming both, the man who built heaven on earth, and forgot to include the exit. Remember me not for what I built, but for what I demanded in return, because what I demanded was everything.